Hello guys and welcome to HJW Gaming. In this video I'm going to be doing my first Tier 1 Commander guide and we're going to be taking a look at the evil side Tier 1 Commander, Agzok. Tier 1 Commanders have been pretty hard to get a grasp of as far as where they sit on the tier list, due to the new Ascension system and the amount of cost associated with it, and the amount of diminishing respect value that you get, meaning that very few people have high respect Tier 1s that can be compared to the number of people who have Tier 3 Commanders. However, from limited testing, I do think Agzok stands out as probably one of the better Tier 1 Commanders, so we're going to take a look straight into him now. Now Agzok stands out as being kind of one of the weaker, maybe physical damage dealing commanders. When we move on to his skills, you'll see, however, that's where he truly shines. You'll see from his stats, he does have equal amounts of defense base value and attack, and low amounts of focus and initiative, so it's fairly slow. As a physical damage dealing commander, equipment wise, we're going to want to buff that attack as high as possible. And therefore, gear wise, we're going to want to use a high attack accessory, such as this Axe of Khazad-dûm from the Flawless category. This is the best in slot item for him, as it gives the most attack and the most damage possible. You're going to want to strengthen and refine this as much as you can. Flawless wise, you can also use a 2.0 Battle Axe, again strengthened and refined as much as possible, as we're trying to give as high damage again and high attack as possible. No classic gear I can really recommend here, as even for higher attack values it's not worth giving up that bonus damage. However, there's a slightly different story in the chest category section, where we do have a couple of different options. Classic gear in chest pieces can sometimes be the most valuable for physical damage commanders, and probably is the case for Agzok as well if you're looking for value for your equipment. For Flawless category, I think the best is the 1.0, so the classic Durance plate, with resilience for soldiers or tactical manoeuvres. This offers an exceptional amount of attack, as well as a very useful buff as well with either of those two. If you're exclusively restricted to 2.0 gear, the best in slot is the Berserker's Raiment, and the benefit the Berserker's Raiment will have over the Durance plate, despite that reduced amount of attack, is that it will give you more HP, because of course classic gear doesn't give HP. If you want the best value chest piece you can get, I would recommend the Rise to War Classic 1.0 Goblin Armour with the Gallant buff. With this, you can get 36 attack from its base stats, and from the Gallant buff, a further 15 for a massive 51 bonus attack. So for value for money, this is definitely the best chest piece available for damage dealing commanders. Other good options are also the classic Scale Mail, again with the Gallant buff. Helmet wise, you have a couple of different options. However, the Cask of Pride stands out in the Flawless category, both the 1.0 and the 2.0 version. Personally, I prefer the 1.0 version, as whilst it offers slightly less attack, it does offer an enormous amount of melee defense for your units. So if you use a melee unit on this commander, you will take significantly reduced damage, which I think is a huge boost compared to the commander defense offered on the 2.0 Cask of Pride. Though of course this does also offer bonus HP, which can come in value. If you're looking for exquisite, again Rise to War Classic gear comes to the fore again with the classic full helm. Fully strengthened, a classic full helm can give you a massive 45 attack, and if you run it with something like Melee Vigor for 6% reduced melee damage, again it's an excellent item of choice. If you need to use 2.0 gear, however, the 2.0 full helm can also take its place, but at a drastically reduced attack value, so it does pay to have that classic gear available. For accessories, you're going to want to make sure you're using a Flawless accessory, as these do shine head and shoulders above the rest, or at least above Exquisite. Reason being is that only Flawless equipment in this category has bonus damage. The best of which being the Palantir of Orthanc. You're going to want to get this as strengthened and refined as possible, so you get as much damage and bonus attack as you can. But if in the absence of having a Palantir of Orthanc, the Drums of Barad-dûr 2.0 can also be valuable. If you have no other option and you have to use exquisite gear, then you're going to want to look towards a 2.0 Bone Talisman, as this is the exquisite equipment that offers the most bonus attack, though unfortunately it offers HP and not bonus damage. Looking into Agzok's skill tree, you will note there are a number of different physical damage skills available in his tree. The first of these is his top respect 0 skill tree, which is Pursuer, which offers up to 400% physical damage with a 1 round cooldown, so it hits in rounds 2, 4, 6, 8 and 10, so a regular hitting skill, and also deals an additional 100% physical damage whilst attacking with this skill once you have it beyond 5 skill points, and if you get it to 10 skill points you also gain a bonus 5 initiative. The next physical damage skill available is his Respect 3, which is Shadow of the Mist. Now this doesn't activate quite as often as it does have a 2 round cooldown, so activates in rounds 3, 6 and 9. But this can deal up to 130% physical damage to 3 out of 4 of the enemy formations, once each round for 2 rounds. So you'll note while it activates every 3rd round, it does actually continue to do damage in between rounds after this, so it will hit pretty much every round. When you get this to 5 skill points, you do gain a bonus 3 initiative, and very helpfully when you get this to 10 you also get a bonus 5 attack, which will help increase the damage from all of your physical damage skills. The last physical damage skill available to you is his Respect 5, which is Mountain Warrior. This activates again every 3rd round, so rounds 3, 6 and 9 due to the 2 round cooldown, and this deals 55% physical damage once to enemy units with the lowest HP. Of course, with full skill points in, this will be 550% physical damage, and usually the enemy with the lowest HP will be their ranged units, so this can be very useful for taking out opponents' ranged units. However, in Rise to War 2.0, this skill will see limited use, as of course unit damage is pretty weak in the current meta and you tend to see tank units used with damage dealing commanders. So I think this skill for now isn't as good as it potentially sounds like it is, but if troop support ever gets buffed, then this will become a little bit more of a meta skill. This kind of synergizes well with the 5 skill point option, which increases damage dealt to ranged units by 10%. So again, that can be very useful when targeting ranged units. And again, with 10 skill points, you gain a bonus 5 commander attack, which will increase your physical damage skills damage dealt when these activate. The last skill we haven't spoke about is the bottom Respect 0, which is Black Numenorian. When fully upgraded with 10 skill points, your normal attacks will inflict an additional 120% focus damage, which actually is quite decent on Agzok, as he does have a decent base focus damage value, which is similar to his attack value, so you can actually get some value from this. In addition, when you get this to level 5, so 5 skill points activated, you do reduce the opponent's defense for 1 round by 6, so this will help, again, increase the damage of your physical damage skills as well as your troops damage. And at level 10, your target's attack goes down by 10 points for 1 round, which is only really useful if you're hitting an opponent's physical damage dealer, as if you can drop their attack, you reduce the amount of damage you take. Overall, fully upgraded, this is reasonably mediocre. But into the build, how I would build him is I would put first up 10 skill points into the Respect 3 Shadow of the Mist. That's to get that kind of consistent amount of physical damage being dealt to 3 enemy formations every kind of single round, as of course it does activate each round in between the kind of skills overall activation. So you're basically dealing 390% damage every single round, which makes this his best damage dealing skill. After this, I would then put 10 points into Pursuer. Again, this activates every other round and does deal a decent amount of physical damage with that 400% plus the additional 100% as well. So I'd look to fully upgrade this to get his 2 best damage dealing skills in. And then it's a toss-up between Mountain Warrior for, again, more physical damage, or Black Númenórean. Personally, I'm inclined to side towards Black Númenórean, as that focus damage can give him a slightly different feather in his cap than the kind of very physical damage based up until this point. Something focus just does change it up a little bit and can give him something a bit different, as well as the reduced defense on the opponent if you can get it to 5 skill points, being useful as well. But mainly, the normal attack damage and dealing an additional focus damage hit can help Agzok hit through White Council dealing commanders, which are very in the meta at the moment, and burn through that White Council as soon as possible. So, in my opinion, I think this is a very valuable skill to use. Any spare skill points, of course, you'll only have 1 or 2 most likely. If you have any additional, then I would keep putting them into Black Númenórean until this is fully upgraded, and then go into Mountain Warrior if you do have an exceptionally high respect Agzok, which is unlikely. Next up we have his relic, which is the Giant Axe. Now this could be useful for the bonus HP and attack, but realistically I don't think it's that great, as it does rely, the skill on it rather, does rely on him being on stone land. So the mountain bound increases his damage by a reasonable amount, however only on the stone land, unless you're only ever going to use him on stone, which is very unlikely. It's not very useful the majority of the time. So therefore I think it's not worth picking up in my opinion. Now, what troops would I look to use on him? Generally, you want to use a melee troop and probably a tank. The best melee tank available is the War Chariot, so that's what I would look to use on him whenever possible. The Crusher can also synergize pretty well, as the Crusher's ability to reduce the opponent's defense will mean they take more damage from Agzok's physical damage dealing skills. As for where I'd put him in a tier list, I think Agzok probably belongs pretty firmly in the C tier. Whilst he's probably higher than that if you consider new players, as he is a tier 1, so it can come in handy. I think whilst he does have also good damage potential as well with many damage skills, the amount of investment required to get him up to extremely high respect in order to utilise all those skills, it's just not worth the amount of money that it would cost. If the Ascension system was reworked, and so you didn't get less respect per respect item, particularly for tier 1s, I think he could become a little bit better, but his damage outputs just don't really match the amount of cost that he does require to get to high damage. Whilst he's ascended to a tier 2, he is reasonably good, but he doesn't match up against other very high tier 2s, such as Gimli, Lurtz or the Shadow. So he's usable without being, a high tier, so I'd probably put him firmly in the C tier. That's the last I have to offer. If you've enjoyed this video, please smash the like button, and please consider hitting subscribe to see more of my upcoming Rise to War content. And with that, I really hope to see you on the next one.